G'day everyone. I know I haven't been uploading videos for quite some time. However, I'm trying to get back into it, so bear with me. But I thought the first one after a while should be a reptile one. And last time I've showed you, I think one of my snakes eating, like the full process it's gone through, how they actually do it, and also giving you some tips and tricks with feeding. What we're going to do now is a full video on cleaning, handling, basically building up ways that will help you and your reptile kind of live together without any problems. What you can see at the moment is basically a whole bunch of tools and bits of equipment that I use for when I feed my reptiles. I obviously have weekends off, so I just use one of those days that I've got off to feed them, and then also while they're in their feeding tubs, I'll also use that opportunity to clean all of their enclosures. Righto, so what we'll start off with is going into the handling side of things. So the best way that I've found to do it is, especially with mine, as they're very, very aggressive. Don't know why, but some of them, even after immense handling, just don't seem to want to tame down, and that's fine. We can still have nice show snakes in their enclosures. However, it means, yes, you will get tagged when you actually go to remove them out of their cage. You can avoid this by wearing like your heavy duty sort of welding gloves. I don't know if you can see them there, the yellow ones right there. However, if I'm wearing sort of white clothes, don't want to get blood on them, I'll just use these sort of little ones here. They're very thin. The fangs, the teeth still do go through. However, it kind of stops the blood from going everywhere, because it does get quite messy. So what we'll do is I'll just pop the camera over to my side. I'll grab some of my snakes, transfer them to containers, and I'll basically just show you a close-up of each of them as we go. Alright. One thing I just thought of before I actually go through and grab all the reps out and show you each of them close-up and handling techniques, I thought it might be best, all that equipment you saw laid out on the ground before, for the newer sort of reptile keepers, in case they're wondering, what equipment they will need. A very quick, brief overview I thought might help. So first thing I've got, I'm just going to try to work with the camera here. I've got these little Chinese food containers. So basically you can reuse these quite some time. They are obviously to keep the water. They're the perfect size for most of my snakes in regards to soaking and all that. And when they're full, the snakes 9 times out of 10 won't actually tip them, which is very handy. So you don't have to clean cages and replace your bedding all the time. As you'll notice with mine, I mainly use paper towels just for ease of cleaning and for the cost. Also, next up is some good Reptile Hand. This stuff's really good just in case you've obviously in your day-to-day activities you've been handling chemicals and all that, or your general oils and bacteria that's on your hands could not be the best for your rep. So it's always good to just kind of put some of that on your hands, disinfect them, and also between each rep it's also a good idea to do that, just in case one's sick, you don't want to make it go through your entire collection. So next one, my favourite, is a bit of Listerine. So I have found this just absolutely worth its weight in gold in regards to having a rep that decides to try and make a meal out of your hand. The easiest way to get them off you without actually hurting them, and it's nice for you obviously as well, you don't tear your skin so much, but mainly for the snake or reptile, sorry, so that it doesn't break a tooth or hurt its jaw or anything like that. If you just get a tiny bit of Listerine, put it on your hand right next to their mouth. As soon as it touches their mouth, they obviously don't like the burning feeling. and they immediately let go. So that's always good. The next one, or next two, are what I use to clean the cages. So this is called Jurassic Wipes and Jurassic Clean, and basically it's what I use to disinfect the enclosures themselves, and also any of the ornaments, hides, and stuff like that. It just basically keeps it all sanitary. It removes or minimises the risk of basically getting mites and diseases and parasites and stuff like that in there. It's like a normal vacuum mop that you do in your house, and disinfectant and all that. So it's good for them, obviously, because they're in there 24/7. Next up is my my temp gauge. So it's Reptile 1. I try and get mostly Reptile 1 stuff, and this is good for actually pointing at the animal itself, finding out kind of what their outside of their body temp's sitting at, and then also measuring the cool side and the warm side of their enclosure, because obviously you should have both of those sides, so they can actually regulate the temperature themselves by moving to each side. So if they're too hot, they'll move to the cool side, and vice versa. As I went through before, the gloves I use, so they're just the real thin sort of gloves. I mean, doesn't do much, but it always helps with a little bit of a psychology side of things. The paper towel I use, just obviously really cheap stuff. The reptiles don't mind, obviously, they're happy, they're just kind of chilling there. You got your snake hook. Snake hooks are always easier. I use it as a bit of a, it's sort of like to warn the reptile that what you're about to do. You're about to handle it, you're about to move it, so you're not feeding it, you're not attacking it, anything like that. And it's good also if they look a little bit too inquisitive at you, you can also kind of direct their head another way. Mainly with your big snake you'll use it, just because you really don't want to get tagged by one of them, because that really does hurt. And lastly, the main thing I use is mainly for feeding, however, because you'll see a lot of blood on it obviously. I also use it to wipe my my arm when they do tag me, but it's mainly my feeding towel, just so I don't get it all over the floor, and it just saves me having to clean up in the long run. Righto, so I'll just get one of the reps out, and then I'll sort of keep pausing the video in between, because it'll obviously take a little bit to get them out in case they wrap around ornaments and things like that. So in the meantime, I'll pause it, get a snake out, bring it over, show you, explain a little bit about that sort of snake's temperament. Obviously each rep's going to be different, however, what I've found, the general consensus of each of these species, I'll explain in detail. Alright. Righto, so what I've got here is it's a coastal python. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, I'll probably just strike the camera. There you go. But it's quite a little aggressive one. That's actually going to be pretty funny to look at from the video. It's probably just seeing the red flashing light and probably a bit of the heat that it's kind of registering at the moment, because it'll be quite hot. So this is only a baby still, like still very small. So they are notoriously nippy when they are young, just because they're not so sure of themselves. I do get bit by this one, I wouldn't say every single time, but 9 times out of 10 this one will tag me, which isn't a drama. Like, it's a small reptile, so you really you barely feel it, and it's like the quickest little sting and then it's all over. But they are a beautiful snake, very common snake here in Australia, and they're not like a prized specimen. However, I still find them quite beautiful with their patterns, and normally with their temperaments, I found that they can be quite placid. One of my mates actually has one who's, he kind of sits outside with him all the time, and never phased. So it just all depends on the handling and all that, and the age and the general characteristics of the reptile itself. Alright, so I'll just put this one away, and I'll just check which container I'm going to put it in, because they've each got their own. You do that because it stops, it's just another phase in stopping contamination crossing between each of your reptiles. Therefore, you know, if, like I said before, if one's got a disease, then it hopefully should minimise the risk of it spreading through your entire collection. Righto, I'll just grab another one. Righto, so what I've got here is a black-headed python. Just hopefully you can get some good footage of it there. So she's quite young as well. She'll get a lot bigger than what she is at the moment. Her temperament's normally fairly good. However, the closer the feeding date is, the more chance and likely, you're going to be to get bitten. Just because these snakes are power feeders. They will eat and eat, and as long as you keep throwing food at them, they'll just keep eating. She has tagged me quite a bit. However, it's always been a food response bite, i.e. they won't let go. So you know it's not an aggressive sort of thing. They're quite timid and placid naturally. So as long as they're well fed, then, you know, 99% of the time they won't actually tag you. However, these are my personal favourite, because just the look they have with that nice dark sort of black head. The pigment's quite full on. Just trying to get her away from my finger, because obviously she'll size it up, and if she deems that it'll fit in her, then she'll give it a go. So she's not obviously a constrictor. However, she can put a fair amount of pressure on your hand, so you'll start to feel it pulsate when they squeeze. It just goes to show how what do you call it? How much muscles they have, and their body is just absolute pure strength. So obviously, the bigger they get, you know, they just become monsters, which is good. So I'll just put her over here in her container or her feeding tub. Try and obviously wiggle your finger out without hurting them, because they will be applying quite a bit of pressure. The more comfortable they become with you, obviously the less pressure they're going to place on you, because the more that they'll trust you. However, at their age, they're going to do obviously the young thing, which is like sort of like a death grip, just to hold on, because they're so scared and unsure of themselves. Righto. So I'm going to grab out my water python and I'll be back. Alright, so this is another beautiful snake, I believe, with its yellow underside and the what do you call it, the grey sort of top. To me, I know a lot of people out there will be like, oh, I can't believe you would even see that. However, to me they look quite similar to the olive python. So I'm no snake expert, however, well, there you go. Yeah, this is another one of my aggressive ones. However, they may be related. To be honest, I'm not sure. But they do look very, very similar. And I did get this one confused initially when looking at the breeders. And yeah, because I actually had an olive python. However, she escaped when I was away with work. All right, so this one I find to be very, very aggressive. Still a beautiful snake. Sorry if I keep going out of camera. So very aggressive, seems to like to strike the face more than anything. I'm not sure if it's intimidated by the actual facial features, you know, the mouth moving when you're talking, like that's obviously where the sound's coming from, so not sure. She's going to be a big girl already, because she's still quite young. However, you know, she's really, really long. So hopefully she obviously fills out as well as the length there. So a lot of these, most of these snakes, I do feed small rats to. The coastal is on that borderline a bit too thin for the small rat. However, have tested it, obviously monitored it just to be sure, make sure nothing was wrong, and seem to put it away easily. So all of them eat the small rats except for the big one, which you will see not the next one, but the one after, and he obviously eats a large rat. But you know, the water pythons are once again a nice snake, just because I find the two sort of two-tone colours very nice to look at, and there's almost like a rainbow effect on them. In their enclosure, obviously, they do require more water, hence the name. They prefer the more water in their environment. Well, she's going underneath the cage here. We don't want her to go there. Be hard to get her out. So I'll put her in her enclosure, and in her feeding tub, and then we'll go on with getting out the jungle cross carpet python, which is the angriest one I have. So luckily so far I haven't been tagged by any of these, but now that I've said that, the jungle is probably going to take my hand off. So this one's probably going to do it now. But anyway, I'll go grab the jungle, and I'll put her away and then grab the jungle, and I'll be back.